Brian Doerksen, It's Time is the CD, his latest, and a man who's just prolific. I have to bring love from my daughter, crazy about the music. I said to my husband, what is it you love about Brian Doerksen's music? He said the imagery. It's the words. And what I loved reading about Brian is that on a hillside in that home in Abbotsford where you were raised, and you are now living with your wife Joyce and 6 children, you began listening to God. And this is the fruit. This is all the fruit. How special that you're able to flake out on that same hillside, where as a child you began to tune your heart to his voice.
It's amazing to see my own kids, you know, run around on the same grass and climb some of the same trees. One of my daughters loves it.
How did you get it back?
Well, we were living in London, England at the time, and my parents had just got to a place where a house on 5 acres was just overwhelming for them. They didn't tell us that it would be overwhelming for us too, and so they said, it's time to sell, and I just couldn't bear the thought of the family home just going to somebody we didn't know. So that was one of the reasons we moved back, and my parents, you know, live on the other side of town, and we see them all the time, and they come over all the time.
I bet they're eager to do that.
But it's awesome.
You've got a hint of empty nest creeping in, I think.
Well,
not empty, but diminishing.
Diminishing. Let's put it this way: our oldest 2 girls are in college and going to be moving into an apartment of their own, and it's good. But our youngest, who is 10 now, because of his condition, is still in diapers and still doesn't speak. So we're dealing with everything from a boy showing up dating my oldest daughter to a handicapped son still in diapers. So it's quite a interesting household.
I wonder if many of our viewers really know 2 sons with the same disease, affliction. Tell us about it, Brian.
Well, Fragile X syndrome is a global mental disability that affects a number of people. That was only named that, I think, about 25 years ago. So, and autistic type symptoms, but the root is that genetical condition, Fragile X syndrome. So, you know, but here's the amazing thing, and I think any parent who has somebody who struggles with a mental handicap in their life, they're incredibly good at giving and receiving love. So sometimes God's grace comes in disguise, and I think this is just, we've been greatly blessed to have 2 boys who love us and we love them, and they earth us and they slow us down to the pace of love, I think.
The pace of love. What did I read? Over 90% of the opportunities that come to you, the requests for Brian Doerksen, you have to say no to because of the care required for the children.
Well, and it's also to honor my wife. I really believe that we're in this together, and Joyce and I have been married for 25 years this year, and so I don't want to be constantly leaving her all the time, caring for the 6 on her own. And so we work out what we feel like are the opportunities, the invitations that are right, and we walk through that door with joy. But I'm quick to get home. And
your life is full, your plate is full, your priorities are right. And I just made a note here. Just read some of the awards, because some are meeting you for the first time, Brian. I could spend the next few minutes and read the whole page, but I'm not going to do that. I know Brian wouldn't want me to, but in 2003, Brian was presented with the International Award by the Gospel Music Association in America. October 2007, Brian received 6 Covenant Awards, that's Canada's Gospel Music Association Awards, including Artist of the Year and Album of the Year for Holy God, and Song of the Year also for Holy God. In April 2008, Brian received a Juno Award, that's the Canadian equivalent of Grammys, that also for Holy God, Contemporary Christian Gospel Album of the Year. I could go on before and since. You've done all this within the context of a very big family, big demands within the family, and still holding to the priority of family.
Well, when we're born again spiritually, we're born into a family. I don't think, God values family unbelievably, and of course there's an incredible onslaught against family. So to do things that would disintegrate a family is like going in the complete opposite direction, I believe, of what God is doing in the earth.
You've also had, this would be a good book, your personal journey, and it can't be a secret that the richness of what you sing comes from your journey with God. Lots of disappointments, lots of unexpected left turns, but you trace God's goodness in all of it, Brian.
Well, I think we all go through valleys shadowed with death, right? Here's maybe one sort of picture that helps. If you take a really small object and you put it up close to a light source, it can cast a really big shadow. But when you really stop to think about it, the source, it's small. I think God's love is so much bigger than anything that's thrown at us in life. And so our calling, our challenge is to rest, is to trust that love, because the reality is we're all going to go through valleys shadowed with death. We have our unique valleys, some connected to our boys, but lots of them have other things. And so the Father just wants us to trust His love.
You've been a church planter both sides of the Atlantic. What took you to England? That's a really interesting chapter and still a big part of your heart.